You're
Right.
late starting.
Oh, you're right. Let me hit the button here. Thank you, Judy, for reminding and welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, as well as the Anchorage Walkabout Town Bed and Breakfast, as well as Lightspeed Networks in Arizona. I have had a crazy week of being pulled in all different directions at the same time. And the San Carlos Computer Club. I feel like I have 4 responsibilities going on all at once.
You poor thing.
You're young.
Good morning. Let me know. I've had to readjust my cameras on this end, and what it should be doing is switching between 2 different views, which I'm doing manually right now.
Oh,
But it should happen automatically like every 20 seconds. So if I'm not paying attention, I'd like to know if that's actually happening. And I left every topic from last week on our document of possible topics because we didn't talk about any of them.
Well, I have a new topic.
All right, that's even better. What's your new topic?
The new MacBook Air.
Ooh.
That just came out. They just did the grand opening or whatever they call it, the grand release or whatever they call it.
They did the developers conference yesterday. And I have no information because I was setting up bed and breakfast all day yesterday. I did not get a chance to watch it. So I
didn't watch it either.
I'd be really interested in hearing what people saw or know about it right now.
All I know is I got an email about it for the new MacBook Air.
Okay.
And when you put in what you think you want, it's like over $2,000.
Oh, well, at least they're keeping them reasonably priced.
Yeah. So my question is, why would I buy a MacBook Air as opposed to a MacBook Pro that I can get for almost the same amount of money?
Oh, I gotta go get mine now.
I am looking for. Did they announce it with an M2 chip any different from?
Let me see if I still have the email. Hold on.
Oh, what has happened? I forgot. Hold on one second. I am remoted into a computer in San Carlos, and they don't know I'm still connected. I'm going to disconnect because they're watching TikTok videos, which is coming through my speaker.
I got an email from Apple this morning that it just said, here's a recap of everything announced at WWDC 23.
Oh, wonderful. In fact, that's what I should be looking for right now in my Google search. Do you want to? I'm looking for WWDC, Worldwide Developers Conference
23. WWDC 23.
WWDC 23 recap.
Mm-hmm.
So is that only Apple or is that?
Yes.
It's only Apple. So the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference, they've had it for over 20 years, maybe 30 years. And it is where they announce to their developers their new software and the hardware that they want developers working on.
And they call it they either have the 15-inch MacBook Air with M2, or they have a Mac Pro with M2 Ultra. And then they have previews of iOS 17 and that's coming out.
You got to know, and we've talked about it a little bit. Yeah, this conference, that's right. This is where they show off the VR headsets. So everything else is secondary. Like they were working on it, but it's not the reason that we're meeting. We're meeting because of this headset. This is a $3,500 headset intended for developers and early adopters with like deep pockets. I don't think any of us are going to be interested in this headset in its current form because they don't know what they're going to use it for yet. And so that's absolutely no reason to buy into anything unless you just have money to burn and you're totally interested in the products that aren't ready to go.
Actually, when we had talked about it before, you said that my MacBook is probably ready to be replaced. And
Okay.
you suggested either 16 or 32
Yep.
and 1 terabyte.
Yep.
But I don't see that that's even an option anymore.
Damn it. That's how they would push you into the new Macs.
Well, the new Mac, though, the Mac Pro is like, oh gosh, mega expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
as in like,
you know, I had that experience with my Mac Mini. I bought to the
right.
tilt, and immediately, like a
Like,
month after I bought
like,
it, they had removed the high end version that I had bought. So the computer that I bought for $1,200 that they were selling for $1,700, they stopped selling a month after I bought it. They still have the computer, but they don't have the capacity. They don't have the 1 terabyte version any longer. Or was it the 2 terabyte I bought? Now I don't remember. Let me just double check that I'm not crazy. Storage. I got the 16 gigabyte because that's what was available. Storage, there's storage. With 2 terabytes. I got the 16 gigabyte with 2 terabytes because that's what was available with the M1 chip. The M1 Ultra and Pro allow you to go to 32 gigabytes and 64 gigabytes. Not necessarily anything that you would need, Judy, but that's how you would get it, is through those other chips. It's a process that is a doubling. It's taking 2 of their M1 chips and marrying them together, and that's how they end up with the higher higher amount of RAM and larger amounts of storage.
Yeah,
So,
it says if I would do a MacBook Pro 16 gigabyte unified memory, I don't know what that means, 1 terabyte of storage is $24.99 before my trade-in.
yeah. Well, I wonder how much you get for your trade. You probably get nothing for your trade-in, right? It's pretty old.
I don't know. Let's see. My Mac up to $120.
Well, I mean, I always find with that kind of pricing, the computer has more intrinsic value to me than that.
I wouldn't trade it in for $120.
I'd hand it off to a child for 100.
Right.
I'm getting into the Apple store right now because shop the latest. Let's see what's in here.
And that's a 14-inch.
The one you're looking at, the MacBook Pro?
Uh-huh.
Let's just see what's available. Okay, so you can still get the M1 13-inch MacBook Pro for starting at $1,000.
Right, or I can get an M2 13-inch starting at $1,299.
Yeah. Or a 13-inch MacBook Pro starting at $1,300. Though I don't think that's the 13-inch you want.
No, I don't think I do either.
No, that MacBook Pro 13 is that hodgepodge of old and new technology.
And so is as far as I can tell, so is the what happened to it? I can't go back. I
The
guess I
Mac,
have to go to the 14.
well, the MacBook Air with the M1 13-inch it has a feel that's very similar to the previous MacBook Air. I think very similar to, is yours a MacBook Air that you have now?
No, it is not. Is who? Mine is not. Mine's a Pro.
Yeah. So you wouldn't know it, but the design, I've got it on my screen right now if you're looking at it. This design is their older style design.
Mm-hmm.
So the look and feel of it is very traditional to what MacBook Air was. That's what that wedge design is. It does have more ports on it than previous MacBook Airs.
And that's my question, though, that I saw that they're only Thunderbolt ports.
Well, they're USB-C ports, and
Oh, okay.
Thunderbolt is the new standard for USB 4.
Well, it's not new because I had to buy Thunderbolt, whatever they're called, not reducers, but, to fit them in so I could plug regular things in. And I wasn't real crazy about that idea.
Everything on a Macintosh now, I think aside from the desktop computers, is the USB-C standard.
Right.
And so that supports USB 3.2 all the way up to USB 3.2. And then the new equipment should be supporting USB 4, which is Thunderbolt.
Okay.
So you have USB 3.2, which supports Thunderbolt, and then the newest version of Thunderbolt is USB 4. It's been adopted by the industry. Apple has given it to the market. And so the way that you use Thunderbolt is by connecting to a port that is a USB-C port.
Right.
But that port has a number of different standards that it supports.
And I had to buy an adapter to do that.
To USB-C, yeah. Probably because you had other
I had
components.
something that needed Thunderbolt and it wouldn't connect to my current MacBook or something, which is really a pain to have to carry one more little device.
One more adapter.
Yeah, so I thought that they were going with the European standard that everything has to be the same.
Well, they have. That's the reason we've got USB-C all over this device. Is that same port is used for power, for data,
right,
for peripherals. And that is the European standard.
But so then why do they have, that was one of their selling points on the Air, that they had 2 Thunderbolt ports.
Yep.
Why?
When Apple says Thunderbolt, you should just think USB-C.
Oh, okay.
Because the port is the USB-C is the physical port. That's the way it looks, the style of cable connector on the end. That is, everything's described by saying USB-C. Okay. Inside the USB-C port, the software it can support is USB 1, 2, 3, up to 3.2, as well as Apple's Thunderbolt standard. All of that's supported by that physical USB-C port. That's not the case on a PC. On a Windows-based laptop, if you have a USB-C port, it doesn't support Thunderbolt. It supports up to 3.2 USB, or it could even support as low as USB 3. The exception to that rule is a brand new PC that has USB 4. That it's been marked with USB 4, which is backwards compatible with everything I just said, and has the bonus of using the Thunderbolt standard that Apple has just made open for everyone to use.
Okay.
If it's confusing, it is. I mean, if it sounds confusing, it is. And I'm happy to reiterate and re-describe it again because
no, that's okay. I'll just
Yeah.
read more about it. Then if I have questions, I'll ask again.
Yeah, and you're gonna run into it again, and you're gonna be confused by it again, because all of us are, because of they keep changing naming standards. It was really weird when the USB standards body accepted Thunderbolt as USB 4. Nobody was expecting Apple to just throw that out there and say, hey, let's use this as the 4 standard. Up until then, Thunderbolt had to be licensed. So if you wanted to take advantage of connecting to Thunderbolt devices and transferring data at Thunderbolt speeds, you had to pay Apple to put it into your computer, and very few PC designers bothered to pay that license fee. So it is confusing.
Very.
And I would also say you don't need to be looking in M2 chips. There's nothing pushing you into M2 chips. You could use the cost savings of buying an M1 computer, because it's going to be so much more power of computer than you've had up to this point. If you already had an M1 chip, you would have trouble updating to the M2 chip, because that computer is so much more power. The M2 is an iteration on the M1. It's not a revolutionary change. It's just this year's version of the M1. It does have more transistors in it. It has a newer version of their neural processing chip. So it is definitely updates to the M1 chip, but they're iterative, and there's nothing revolutionary happening, but there is a much larger price tag. And so if you want to be on the cutting edge, you could get an M1 or an M2. But if you're looking to replace your computer with lots of power and your concern is costs, the M1 chip is an amazing computer, more computer than you've used up to date, if that helps. The $1,000 MacBook Air with the M1 chip, I've got it on my screen right now. It actually only has 7-core GPU, whereas I think the more expensive update has 8. And I also think I haven't seen any reviewist show a difference between that. However, I think you can only...
saying there's no difference between 7 and 8?
GPU cores, that's correct. Because the software has to really take advantage of it. And there is negligible difference right now.
Okay.
But this is what I was going to get at. See, here's the $1,000 price tag. It's 256 gigabytes of storage. We talked about before the SSD. The smaller it is, the shorter life it's going to have.
And you told me that I should look at a 1 terabyte anyway.
That's right. And the 7-core only has 8 gigs of unified memory. And you should get 16 gigs. So they're not offering the computer I'm talking about anymore. They're only offering the M2 chip.
Okay.
And they're not offering that at 1 terabyte. They're offering that. See, they really changed their offering to push you $200 more.
Right. At least, yeah.
So the M2 chip is fine if you want to buy brand new. So I'm curious, have you looked at an eBay auction just to get a feel for what people are getting rid of their M1 MacBook Airs for.
No, because I would never do that.
Well,
I
I
say
would.
no because
I was
never
just
do
going to
that.
ask that, Judy. Scott,
No.
do you recommend people buy from eBay, or how do you figure that out?
You know, that's how I saved $500 on my Mac Mini. And I could have bought Apple Care on it. eBay gave me a year warranty on it, which is just about up. And at the time, I could have bought Apple Care and added a number of years of warranty. I didn't.
Right.
I might still look into it, but I might also just like drive without a seatbelt just because I'm cheap.
But I've always found that Sam's Club offers a really good rate on things like this. So that's where I've purchased mine in the past. And then I just take them, and then I take them over to the Apple store and have them do everything.
So when
we would do the same thing with Costco.
Yeah, when I propose looking at eBay for an M1 Mac Air, you are choosing to buy a refurbished computer because
Right.
Apple's no longer selling new versions except for that really basic one. But here, oh wait, no, that's an i7. We don't want an i7. Here is a no parts. Gosh, maybe people are hanging on to it because I would hang on to them. I wouldn't sell them. They're great computers. But there are some early adopters. Well, here's one at half the price. It's not the one you want. But it's the same one that they're selling for $990 for $1,000. They're selling it for $500.
Yeah, but you don't know what you're getting, and you don't.
Well, yeah, but it's a different equation now than it has been in the past, Judy. There's no moving parts except for the screen that you lift up. There's no cooling fan to go bad. There's no spinning hard drive to go bad. They don't get hot, so they're not overheating. So it's a much less fragile device than in the past when you were buying used. The other thing to think about as well when you're buying Macintosh, these are not desktop replacements or portable desktop computers. None of their computers, I think, should be considered the way you used to think about a desktop computer because everything's built on the main motherboard. So easily half, if not more of the price is just that motherboard. It's just your storage, RAM, and processor. If something goes wrong with your storage, it's that motherboard. If something goes bad with your RAM, it's that motherboard. If something goes wrong with your processor, it's that motherboard. The entire motherboard has to be replaced. More than half the cost of the computer is that motherboard.
Well, back to my original statement, I would not buy a new MacBook Pro or a refurbished from eBay. I just would not do it. I've bought a lot of things over the years past, and it is not something that I would ever do. I'm not going to spend $500 for something that I don't know what I'm getting.
Sure.
So that's just me. I'd rather spend $1,000 and know what I'm getting and have the year warranty and all that kind of stuff. So,
I finally found a 1 terabyte, 16 gigabyte MacBook Air M1, and it's selling. Oh, and there's only one left.
$1,900 or $1,300.
$1,300. To get the equivalent you can't get the equivalent unless you go up to a MacBook Pro.
Right.
I'm bringing this up right now just to see how realistic it is to meet that criteria. Come on, MacBook Pros, where are you? Come on the scene. Trying to keep it as close to the same price as possible. We're just waiting. Well, the 13-inch does not have a terabyte option.
No, you
The
have to go to the
14-inch.
14, I believe.
Yeah, 14-inch. So this is the closest comparison, but it's the M2 Pro. So 12 cores CPU, 19 cores GPU. I mean, it's just $2,500. So
Right.
a computer refurbished that has more power than you could imagine is $1,300, and the new
Yeah,
one
so
that
you're
Apple's
1,000.
selling that
Yeah.
can be considered an equivalent is almost twice that price.
Right.
It really forces you to reevaluate what's important. Because they know that if you buy it with the amount of RAM you need and the amount of space that would give it longevity, that you won't pay $1,300 or you won't pay $1,300 more for the computer if they offer it. So they stopped offering it. So now you can buy more expensive computers or equivalently priced computers, but you won't have the longevity or the RAM that you need. To get that, you're going $1,300 deeper into it. And Apple's good at business. That's obvious. I'm here to say you don't need more than that computer that we've been talking about for a year. But they've stopped offering it specifically because that's all you need. And they want to sell these other computers. They want to sell you a $2,500 computer, not a $1,000 computer or a $1,300 computer. That's just really disappointing. And then the price point at that $1,000 computer really is the 256 gigs. So it has a much shorter life in general. Anyway, that's all very interesting. Judy, I don't know how to help you in your purchasing decision. I don't know if I can recommend to people to spend $2,500 on a computer, because there's some amazing PCs out there for $2,500. That's a huge budget to work within.
But I will not go to a PC.
I understand.
I'm an Apple person. All my devices are Apple, and I'm not going to throw in another type of device into the mix.
They've
that
got
doesn't
you.
talk to my. They've got me, and they've had me for a long time.
So
Ever since I worked on a Dell.
So do you think you're gonna reevaluate what's important to you, or do you think you're gonna drop $2,500 on a computer?
I think I probably almost dropped that much on the one I have now.
Well, if you did and you're comfortable with that, as long as the motherboard doesn't have a problem, it should have a very long life.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have we got any other topics out there? Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us. Is there anything else on other people's minds? I have a topic in here from last week talking about, let's see, for next week, saving or transferring Google Drive to computer and then adding iCloud to delete from the G drive. Did you do that, Cheryl? That was yours? Did you have any luck?
Oh, murders, yeah, it'd be the.
It is mine, and not a lot of luck. And we are not at home today, so I'm not at my Windows computer. So I think we have to leave it for another week.
All right.
No,
We're-
I did open up a couple of screens. I found the iCloud and everything, but my biggest thing is, surely I don't have to move every single file by itself. There must be a way to create a whole group of them coming off of the G drive. And that's what I'm having a hard time with, is selecting all kind of thing.
Well, I am today with 2 monitors, and I can
No, the only reason it's here is because that's.
I can present.
For one.
I can hear Bill talking.
Tell Bill to be quiet.
Sorry, we're at his brother's place and they're talking.
Okay. So when you install the G drive, you end up. I don't know if you can see my screen clearly, but under this PC, I have Google Drives right here. Just like they just look like hard drives, and I have a OneDrive. Oh, you know what? I don't have my. Damn it. Yeah, I don't have my iCloud drive here because that's not how I use it. So that's not a good example, but basically you can traverse your Google Drive as though it's a hard drive in your computer.
Well, the Google Drive that I have installed on my laptop doesn't seem to always show me the whole G drive, the Google Photos, everything like that. It doesn't seem to have been synced and stuff. So that's what I need to do, is I need to get everything into that G drive. But the only iCloud I seem to be able to open is a browser window iCloud.
Yeah, so let me see. I've got iCloud. I just don't use it. iCloud.
Oh, they need to when they build it? Yeah.
The iCloud drive. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Was that just your file manager? Or did you do it as
I
search?
just searched for because I have iCloud installed. I just don't use it. And so I pulled up the iCloud Drive application, and now it's given me space in my iCloud. I don't have anything in it.
So, sorry for being so slow,
No.
but anyways, if we back up, you have an iCloud app installed on your Microsoft computer?
Yes.
How did you do that?
You just get it from Apple. Just Google it. You'll go to the iCloud page and you can download it. I think I probably installed it at the same time as iTunes because I keep iTunes up to date. And typically they've got those 2 packages tied together to be downloaded and installed. But I believe you can get it from the Microsoft Store as well. In fact, I'm saying
Okay,
that.
that's what
It's
I wondered about.
easy enough for me to check. Let me double check that.
Okay. Because I didn't know. Oh,
I
if
don't
you could
think
download
I
an
get it
app.
from the store though. I still typically get my apps from websites. I don't really go to the Microsoft Store unless there's no other way to get it. But it is convenient if you don't know where to get it, and it's supposed to be vetted. The Microsoft Store used to be horribly full of hackerware and malware, and it's not so much the case anymore. They're a much better vetted store, but I still don't use it very. Oh, there it is, right there on the home page, iCloud.
Where? Can't see it. Oh, I missed where you clicked, but okay.
Yeah, that's so you
Okay.
can search
Well,
for
I'll search
iCloud
for
in the store and install it. And that will provide you with an app that will open up just like this, just like a folder, a file window. And then you can copy and paste stuff into it. And you should be able to do it right from your Google Drive. Let me grab some stuff here and just try it out. I'm going to grab all those files.
Yeah.
And copy them. I could have dragged them, but I don't have a window, so I'm choosing copy paste and paste.
Okay.
And there they go. So all that stuff's in my iCloud drive now. I mean, of course, it's going to go through a sync process depending on how big they are. They may or may not be available over the next few minutes to hours, depending on how big they are. But essentially, they're set on a path to be synchronized with iCloud.
Okay, and then I could go back to that G drive or Google Drive, and I could delete everything, and then my storage will come back.
Yep.
Okay, and then they won't keep telling me that I can't have any more Gmails.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to try and work on, but like I say, I'm not at my computer again.
Okay.
Hopefully next Tuesday I will actually be at home with all my technology.
Awesome. I hope that's the case. Are you still in Las Vegas?
No, hon. We're in Alberta, and we've been home for 3 weeks, and we just came down. We had a celebration of life for a friend of mine in High River, so we came down to southern Alberta. So we took the opportunity to come over and see where Bill's brother Bob is in a new condo, so a new house.
Oh, all right.
Anyways, we're just checking in, and we're on our way north again today. So we're on the road this afternoon. So it's good seeing you guys. I'm going to log out now, and hopefully we'll catch you next week.
Sounds good, Cheryl. We'll talk to you next week. We'll want an update from your G Drive iCloud experience.
Yes, because it's been too long a problem.
Until next week. So, Judy, do you have any more questions? Mom, you got any questions? Chester? Anything?
A friend of mine had kind of a weird issue. She has Apple devices, but she got a message from Outlook, because she still uses MSN as her email, and that her Outlook was full.
Okay.
And that they were saving her messages that they didn't send across. But when she signed up to buy cloud storage through, I guess, Outlook, MSN, I don't know, the messages never came across.
So when she finally had space, she wasn't able to synchronize them into Outlook.
No.
Did she happen to go into Outlook.com and see if they were there?
I suggested that, and she didn't see. She normally gets many emails a day at that address, so she didn't see any for, it was like a Wednesday through Monday. Very strange.
That is strange, because what you're describing is the way I've understood it with Microsoft in the past, was that they would continue to collect your email, but you wouldn't be allowed to send email because you've run out of space.
And she didn't understand why she pays for iCloud storage, and I said, I don't think it's the same thing.
Absolutely not the same
I said,
thing.
I don't think what you're paying for iCloud storage is the storage that they're talking about. So
that's right. That's right. I mean, there would be, if she was interested in switching to a Macintosh iCloud email, that would be affected by iCloud storage.
And I said, I think you ought to get rid of your MSN account, but she doesn't want to do that. So,
well, one of the things that she could do, and I've talked to Cheryl about this before with her Gmail issue, is that you could set up Outlook to store a local copy of that mail. So you could pull it all down to your computer and then store all that on your computer, make it part of your backup. But it would basically, you'd be able to clean out that Outlook account. So you wouldn't expect to go to Outlook.com and find that email any longer, because you pulled it out and you stored it locally in your local computer.
So anyway, it was very interesting that they actually sent the email and really cut her off. Totally. I mean, now maybe she had gotten a prior email that said you're almost full or something like that, but they really just cut her off.
Yeah. Well, they'll do that.
Yep.
That's the way that works. It's funny that she wouldn't have gotten some previous messages warning her. That's what I expect to see.
That's what I thought too. I figured that there were those messages somewhere. So anyway,
Yeah.
that was just an interesting situation.
Okay. I was just trying to fix my own thing there for a moment. Well, if we don't have any other topics, I do have some news articles here I thought you guys would find really interesting, and you've probably already had a chance to flip through them from last week. But I did want to mention that we've got a man that's paralyzed that can walk again. This, probably the most impressive story about this is they make fun of Elon Musk not being as far along as these people are. Apparently, they've got an implant that would compete against Elon Musk's technology, but it's more advanced. It's farther along. That sits inside the head. It uses a system for creating stimulations to the muscles to walk, but it completely bypasses the spinal cord. I mean, it fits into those nerves, but what happens is the brain. And we've been working on this technology for a while. You can use the brain to control keyboards and mice. We've been able to do that for a while now. The idea is that you can use it to teach your legs to walk again. Now, this technology requires a special helmet. In fact, I can bring it up on my screen here. You can see a picture of it. So this dude has an implant in his brain, and then when he wants to walk, he has to wear this helmet. The helmet and the cable I think he's wearing a pack on his hip, replace the spinal cord connection to the brain. So it's kind of like he was wired and now he's wireless, except he has a wire. And what he's gone through is this relearning. The legs are learning how to walk based on these new inputs, these new electrical inputs coming from a completely different place. And it's working. He's actually walking now. All of this is really cool. I don't know if I would want to be the guy, but maybe if I was paralyzed, I would be happy to be the guy at any moment in this process. This is obviously not the final. This is still, what we're looking at is still in development, research and development, but this dude's actually walking with what they call as a digital bridge. Oh, this animation is pretty good because it shows you what's going on. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There we go. So he was severed right there at the neck. These guys look so European. And so they've bypassed the spine with a digital connection. I imagine the next step is get rid of the helmet.
You know, I think probably in the future, what we're going to see is a lot of these things they figured out how to instill inside the body, the way they have the pacemakers and some of the, the sleep, they have sleep helpers now that they can put in the body. Diabetes, they still have to have an outside portal, but it's now away from being so exposed. This will probably, they'll figure out a way to get this kind of thing inserted. What a wonderful thing for those people who can't walk because of spinal injuries.
Yeah, Chester, well, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I have a grandson who's developed deafness in one ear, and he's having installed in a couple of months the same thing that Rush Limbaugh had installed, that is an implant in the ear, and then he will be able to hear through that ear, where otherwise he's totally deaf in that ear. He's looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And at the same time, we've been doing research and development into organic-based computers, biological computers. It seems like this kind of technology and that kind of technology have development going hand in hand. We might actually grow these kinds of devices at some point alongside the injury. So it wouldn't need to be implanted so much as it would need to be provoked to exist, if you follow what I mean. Just for your awareness, we just got the 10-minute mark. We can continue after 10 minutes by going to the next meet code, or we could call it a day. It's up to you guys. There's only the 4 of us at the moment. I'll move on. I'll move on to the next topic I've got if nobody has anything else. Or if that's not stimulating conversation enough. What about Meta's gotten hit with a record-breaking $1.3 billion fine over Facebook data transfers to the U.S.? I kind of feel like we must have talked a little bit about this last week because it's fresh in my head. What didn't we get a chance to talk about last week? Because what this really is it's just an example of the EU forcing Meta. I don't think they can continue to pay a fine like that. So I think that what it's doing is it's forcing them to come up with some solutions that may end up being similar to what Apple's done in China, where the data has to stay in the European Union. At the very least, it's subject to their GDPR, and so even if it stays in the EU, they would be forced to eliminate it after a specific time. I think that time period is 6 months. Apparently, this stuff is prompting treaties, digital treaties. Again, I'll say again, I feel like we need a digital Bill of Rights that these politicians can refer to when they're making these decisions. Right now, this feels a little bit the cart before the horse. They're making digital treaties with the European Union because the European Union is really looking out for privacy concerns of their citizens. Most of our legislation, our technical legislation in the United States is about protecting tech companies. The Europeans' tech legislation is about protecting individuals. And so they're being forced to make data transfer treaties to satisfy the European Union's regulation on security and privacy. So yeah, it says by late summer or October, they should have a new deal for data transfer in place that should comply with the European Union's regulation. I just think it's important to pay attention to this stuff because really, if we were going to start being concerned about people's privacy and security, then the European Union is the one that's putting together the models for the legislation.
It'd be interesting to find out if they come up with something, guardrails on AI.
Yeah, you can bet that that's on their agenda, just because of the stance they've taken on all this stuff.
Perhaps we can learn from it.
Yeah, if we would just pay attention to it. I mean, we don't even have to do it the same, but we have to, as people, recognize that there are processes going on to protect individuals, and we're not doing it right now in the United States. And there are options that we can all be looking at. I hope you're right. I hope we do learn from it. Right now, it just feels like we're really at the mercy of whatever a tech company can figure out how to use our data to make money with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We did talk about a bunch of these, didn't we? What's this SpaceX update? I've got all
I
old
think we
topics on
talked
here.
about all those things.
I think you're right. I think we did talk about all of these last week.
I know we talked about the what's it called where you have the right to fix your own computer. You know what?
Yeah, the right to repair.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
I wonder, did I blur through it right at the end or something? I just felt like we had so many things we talked about. I didn't realize we'd gotten through all those. I'm pulling them off of our today's list because they were talked about last week. And I got nothing new for this week. Unless you want to hear about bed and breakfast.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty explainable. He's been working just about 24/7 as we're trying to get things set up here. He has maybe an hour that he spends with nice time with Emily, and then they are off working again. So you've been a little preoccupied.
With the bed and breakfast, I do have a story I can share, a technical story. We've installed keyless entries on all our doors. And so we've picked a product that's fairly reasonably priced. If you're interested in keyless entry systems, the latest state-of-the-art stuff easily brings you up to $200, $300, maybe $500 a door. Very unreasonable, not achievable. At that price, you would just use a regular doorknob. But what is available is last year's products at incredibly discounted prices. And so we've got keyless entries based on last year's technology at over 50% discount from what they were originally sold at. So we're looking at $40 devices or $80 devices, not $200 devices or $500 devices.
But then don't you have to have somebody install that? I mean, I know that you have to install it. You can do it. But do you not have to put a new deadbolt and all that stuff in?
That's what it is. In this case, it's a deadbolt. It takes the place of your old deadbolt. And this particular product, it had a different style installation. It has a security post, I think, to keep somebody from the outside, like trying to kick it off or trying to turn it and break it. And so that installation, which is slightly different from other products, we had to do, and we had to have a guy help us do the installation. We have a handyman here. And so, but it was a matter of drilling a 10 millimeter hole right above the bolt lock. And it has a post that goes in that hole that keeps the entire lock secure so it won't turn. There's no way to pry it up, left or right of its to try and loosen and break it.
And then do you give your guests a card that tells them their code? Is that how that works?
So this is how we're doing it. I just wrote up our new self-check-in instructions, and we provide a code to the guest that I provide in our confirmation information. And I'm able to go. What fascinated me about the equipment I got, it checked all these boxes. And one of the boxes was to be able to administer it with my phone. Because this price point of $40 to $80, then what you will find is a number of keyless entry locks that you have to administer from the lock. Looks like we're about to lose our call. I want to finish this topic, so let's move over to the other meat code. I'm gonna pull it up right now, and I will see you guys on the other side. Welcome back. So yes, as I was saying, the majority of the products that you find from last year that are at this price point, you need to administer from the keypad of the device. So if you want to add a code, you have to go over to your door. You have to remember the procedure for adding a new code to the door, and you do it through the buttons on the door. I didn't want to have to do that if we were, oh, nobody can hear me. Hello, welcome back. I'm very sorry. I've just realized I've talked to myself for 2 minutes before I saw my camera and microphone were off. So let me start again. As I was saying, if you were shopping for keyless entries in last year's products, the majority of things you'll find in that price point of $40 to $80, they need to be administered at the doorknob or at the bolt lock. That means that if you want to add a code, you have to go over to your door, remember the procedure for adding a new code, and use the code pad, the touch pad on the door to add the new code. I didn't want to have to deal with that with guests because we're going to have different guests coming in at different times. I really wanted a way to easily give new codes out and to have them expire without me having to delete them. And so that was one of my check boxes of options when I went shopping. And so this particular lock allows us to use Bluetooth and a phone app to assign codes. And I can assign a period of time for the code. So I can future predict codes or future configure codes for guests that are coming. The codes have a start date and an end date. So they can't use the code now, but they can use it during their reservation. They can't use the code later because it will have expired by then. Judy, I was answering questions from you. Did you have any other questions about that in particular? Oh, I can't hear you. I see you talking, but I'm not hearing you. Do I hear anybody? Maybe I'm having a problem over here. Let me see. Nope, I can't hear Mom either. Hold on a second. I must be having a problem on my end. Oh, this is really strange. I can hear everything except you guys. Somebody keep talking. No, can't hear a word. I am going to disconnect from this meeting and reconnect because I can't hear anything. Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, my camera doesn't work.
There we go. I can hear things now. That was really weird. I'm going to blame that on Google Meet because all my stuff was set correctly.
A question, I was absent last week. Have I discussed with you the technology of these hearing aids that I have?
We've talked about
Hearing aids.
hearing aids. Mom's got hearing aids as well. Go ahead, Chester. Maybe the two of you have got stuff to share.
Well, I'm just so delighted. I have been hard of hearing for a number of years, but generally, if I wore earphones or turned the volume up, I wouldn't have any problem. But starting in the first week in April, things really got worse to where I couldn't understand the clarity of what people were saying, even though the volume was correct. So I went to a doctor and had it examined, and I purchased hearing aids that have a couple of nice features. One feature is there is a device I hook up to my television that I can hear the stereo on my television through my hearing aids. And that's even with the other speakers all turned off, or whoever else is listening can adjust the volume whatever they want, but it won't affect my volume. The other thing is that I can control everything through an iPhone. So I just purchased an iPhone, which I know Judy wouldn't do it, but I purchased a refurbished iPhone on eBay, and it's worked out perfectly. And so now I've got my earphones tied into the iPhone as well as the television. And it's a pretty nice deal. Of course, I'm hearing things that I haven't heard in many years.
Chester, I hear myself walking. My shoes make a lot of noise.
Mine too.
I'm not used to that at all.
Mine
But
too.
I agree with you. These are wonderful. With the phone connection, being able to turn up and down TV. I can rotate where the sound comes from. So say we're eating in a restaurant. I can put on a restaurant app, and that helps with the background sound. I can't say that I've proven that to be a real good thing yet, but maybe as I practice. And then let's see, TV. Oh, I hear outside sounds that I haven't heard before, but I have an app that I can turn that background, not that particular one, but more focused on what I need to hear. I can change the hearing coming stronger from the left, say, than from the right. Or I can put all of the sound facing forward for a real intimate conversation. Does yours do that? I was shocked at that one. Haven't mastered it, but.
Yeah, mine does that as well.
Great.
And we may have the same brand.
Yeah, what are your name
RX,
brands? I'm
mine's
sorry.
RX something. Rex, let me get my thing.
Mine are Oticons. The latest version came out in February.
While
Well,
you guys are
doesn't
talking
mean-
about hearing aids, I'm bringing up the smart lock that I've decided on for the bed and breakfast so you guys can see it. Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah, I don't know mine. I got it at Costco. They were about just, I think, like a little tiny bit below 1,600 for two, which I was surprised about. Seems like I paid a whole lot more for my one 9 years ago. So hearing aids are coming down. That's great.
So
Well,
going
mine
back
also
to,
has another.
I'm sorry, Chester, go ahead.
Mine has a couple other features that just came out. One is that when you touch them or your hair touches them or your glasses, they don't make much noise. They eliminated a lot of that noise.
No
Oh,
squeals?
wow.
Yeah. And, so I don't get that.
Oh, yay.
Also, I don't get wind noise.
Me
Hey,
either.
Chester, can you give me the name brand of your hearing aids again?
It's called Oticon, Oticon.
Otcion, Oticon.
And the model is called, let's see, Real, R-E-A-L, Real or Real? Real One.
Real One. Okay, cool. Something
And mine
to
is
check out.
called Rexton,
How do you spell that?
Rexton.
Ton, Rexton. Do you have a model number 2?
The newest one.
The newest.
I don't know. I don't.
Cool.
I mean, I probably could eventually find it, but I couldn't do it quickly for this meeting.
Okay. I'm just curious. I want to document it. It seems like hearing aids are a
Well,
growing.
we can look it up and you can put it in later.
Yeah, it seems like hearing aids is really something that we're going to talk more and more about because the technology is getting much more advanced, and we're all reaching point. I'm having trouble with my hearing in one ear, so I'm really interested in hearing aids as I'm getting older. I think I may have found.
Yes, I think we all will be, and I think they're going to be able to do little implants in our ears, so we don't have to worry about whether we drop them in the water or the toilet or anything like that.
And Scott, I didn't get to jot down the name of your keyless entry system.
Oh yeah, here I'll
You
go
had it
back.
on the screen and then it went away.
I'll bring it up in just a second. I want to make sure we got a link to Chester's copy. Chester, this is the company that Chester's hearing aids are from. Oticon. Still waiting for stuff to come up here. Oh, so Chester, do they still resemble like a traditional hearing aid? Like I'm looking at this picture here.
Not exactly. They, the part that goes into the ear, they did a mold on each ear.
Okay.
And so that it fits really, really snug in your ear rather than just laying in there, which improves the sound quite a bit.
I bet it does. On mine, I just have these little parachute-y kinds of things with holes in them and put them in. And that seems to hold it better than my old hearing aid. We'll see. But nothing that advanced as a mold.
Well, and what I've been seeing starting to be offered, look, you couldn't tell the difference between the hearing aids and earbuds because of the style that they're using. They just look similar to what you would use as your headsets. But I have a customer there in San Carlos that's using a pair of black earbuds that are hearing aids, but you wouldn't know it. He runs around with them on 100% of the time. It looks like he's listening to his music or his audiobooks all the time. But it can be used for that as well, kind of like you guys are explaining the features of your hearing aids. But aesthetically, nobody can tell that they're hearing aids. They just look like headphones.
Well,
Is he still young?
Well, yeah, he's my age. I am maybe a couple of years older.
If you looked at mine from the side, you probably wouldn't see anything except a little wire coming off the top of my ear.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing from this particular design is that that it's got like a reach around your ear style. This is it right there.
Yeah, that's what mine are too.
Okay. So I predict that within the year, you're going to have a style that is much more similar to an earbud style that is cost effective for people that don't have health care to just go buy over the counter.
Well, my health care didn't pay for anything except the examination.
Okay. Yeah, I think that these are going to be devices that people are just going to buy for themselves, kind of like the way we buy reading glasses.
There's a lot of advertisements of different ones on television that you can just, send an order to, and they'll send you theirs, but they aren't the official ones that, ear doctor would prescribe. It's just
Right.
how you can improve your hearing. And they're pretty cheap, and they might be worthwhile for you to start out with, Scott, anyway, in that one ear.
Yeah,
Too bad we don't
maybe.
have the same low ear. I'd give you my other one.
Well, let's go back to the keyless entry for a moment because Judy wanted to see it. This is the one that we settled on, and I got to tell you, I got a great price on it from Amazon. This one is full price, and the one that I was buying from Amazon, this is the exact same model. They were giving it to us at 50% discount. So we were getting it at $40 instead of $80. This keypad lights up to blue when you touch it. This is a key cover. So if you had to use a physical key, you could pop that cover off and stick a physical key in it. The other side is a traditional bolt lock. So if you want to lock it from inside, you just twist the bolt lock.
Is that battery operated?
It is. This right here on the right, you can see the battery cover, and it uses 4 AA batteries, and the documentation says they should last a year. We're
Wow.
going to be a great use case because we're going to have people using these all summer long. So we'll get to see how long batteries actually last in these because they're going to be actively used.
So how hard is that knob to turn?
Well,
No,
it's
all right.
It's very, very easy, and it has to be installed to be very easy because the bolt has to be able to slide back and forth on its own. So the solenoid that they use to push the bolt doesn't have any more power than your fingertips would have. So
I was just thinking about people that have a hard time grasping a knob like that.
yeah, and so because it has to be a smooth motion, the installation is really important. You don't want the bolt to get stuck.
Right.
So it ends up by default being very easy to move because it has to be really easy to move.
I see that this has a biometric fingerprint.
That's right. That was a
One that you're
bonus.
showing.
That actually wasn't on my checklist. It just came along with this device. Seems to work really well.
Wow.
We bought 4 of these devices. They are not Wi-Fi enabled. They are Bluetooth enabled. That means they're not on the internet. So
That's good.
even though I can use a phone to administer them, I have to go to each individual lock and be within 30 feet.
Oh.
But it's much easier than getting down close to the lock and trying to punch in the codes to set them for new guests.
So you can't administer this from San Carlos, these locks?
No,
Okay.
it cannot. Now, there is an option for that. And they're
Okay.
called, and I learned about this. I didn't realize this was a thing. But this is called a TT lock. And they have gateways for TT locks. So you can actually add a $35 device that will marry the lock, one lock, $35 device, to your Wi-Fi network. It'll Bluetooth to your lock, and it'll hook it to the Wi-Fi network so you can use the same software from anywhere on the internet to work on your lock.
But this one that you're showing us says Wi-Fi smart lock.
It does say that. But it's actually a Bluetooth.
Mm.
It uses that loosely.
Oh, okay.
I mean, unless this is a newer version. I don't think it is, though. It looks exactly identical to what. In fact, let's see if we have gateway mentioned here. Find gateway. Good product, value for money, but remote internet operation needs an additional gateway. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not when they say Wi-Fi, they're using that terminology loosely because it's actually referring to Bluetooth. But the difference is incredible. Administering the lock when you have to get down on your knees and get in front of the keypad and you're putting in the system that allows you to save new codes, that's a real pain in the ass. Whereas this, I can sit on the couch 30 feet away from the lock and I can assign a code. I can make up a code. I can change the code. I can change the dates on it. I mean, I could quite literally hand somebody a code in their reservation confirmation. They could call and ask if they could postpone the reservation a day. And I don't have to make a new code. I just have to change the dates on the code I already gave them. So very, very cool stuff. And you saw that it had biometrics, so you can do fingerprints. The other thing that it supports that we haven't taken advantage of yet are a thing called e-cards. And each one of the locks we got came with a thing called an e-card. In fact, hold on a second. I got one right here. This is the packaging that came from Amazon. I should probably put my headsets back on because I can't hear anybody. There we go. And these are called e-cards.
They're very small. I'm so surprised.
Well, and the idea really is that it's like a charm you add to your keychain. Now we bought 4 of these locks, and even though they're not on Wi-Fi, the e-cards and the programmed codes can be transferred from lock to lock. So like mom and dad have a code, Emily and I have a code, our handyman has a code. And I set all that up on the first lock. And then as we installed the other locks, I only had to take my phone with the app over to the other locks and transfer those codes into the other locks. I didn't have to reprogram them. I just used a one-button feature to transfer from other lock. So that's a very handy, if you're going to get into more than one lock, that's a very handy feature. You can transfer the codes you create as well as these e-cards. What you can't transfer is the fingerprints. Apparently, to do the fingerprints, you have to go around to each lock and configure them. The keys that came with them are traditional keys as you know them. Oh, I'm holding it up to a camera that you can't see. Sorry. There it is.
So does it take more than one fingerprint?
Yes. Yeah. We've programmed mine, mom's, dad's. So and you know the problem with fingerprints, especially with the older generation, their fingerprints have gotten much lighter, and some of this equipment isn't easy to activate with a fingerprint. So there's really a number of different ways to get in this lock. I suggested to my mom that you approach it with your finger, and if you're really fighting with it, then punch in the code. And in a worst case scenario, you could be carrying a key around that could unlock it, or you could be carrying one of these E-keys around. The E-keys are kind of cool because you just have to get close to the lock and it will unlock. So you don't have to, there isn't an unlocking procedure. You just get close to the lock and it unlocks the door. So like in mom's situation of carrying groceries in or boxes, she could have an E key on her key ring, and as she got close to the lock, it would just unlock for her.
Yay!
And
That
how big
sounds
is
good.
that E key again?
It's small. Let me hold it up against the key so you can see the difference.
I have Simply Safe, but my remote thing is huge. You wouldn't want it on your, yeah, nice.
Well, and because two E keys come with each lock, we bought 4. So theoretically, we have 8 E keys that could be programmed to open any of those locks.
Yeah. We just got rid of a pile of keys and now we're bringing some back in, huh? Oh, well, that's better than what we've had in the past, that's for sure.
Well, and because of the way I was budgeting, we're not putting these on individual rooms. So there's still room keys at the bed and breakfast for your room, so you can lock up your room. But this is purely for just getting access to the buildings from outside. I will be giving you guys updates on keyless entry as we go through the bed and breakfast. The app has nice features in it, like it gives you the battery life of the batteries. So when I approach a lock, it'll update that battery information for me so I can be thinking about when I might need to replace the batteries. Trying to think of anything else that's been really neat about these. Oh, the one thing I didn't think about that I think people need to think about. I had a check, and I talk to you guys about this all the time. Before I go shopping, I make a checklist of the options that I'm expecting to need. And then I go out and I start reviewing and I look for pricing for those features. And so this represents all the features that I had put on my list and the price point I was looking for. What I didn't put on my list, and I should have, was ease of use. And to me, ease of use is somebody's never used a lock and they're approaching our house for the first time. And this lock is not intuitive. And that's the one thing I'm disappointed in, is that if you've never used this lock before, it's a learning experience the first time you use it. You have to activate it. I said it lights up with blue numbers. It's black the rest of the time. It's just a black pad. And so you have to touch the pad for it to initiate its process. While touching the pad, you could inadvertently press a key, which would be a number now. It does have sound effects, so you know what's going on. If you're touching the pad to activate it and you inadvertently hit a number, you know because you can hear it. But you have to start that code again. So what I've needed to do is I've had to write a how to use the lock blurb that goes out with our reservations so that people will have a good experience the very first time they interact with the lock. Yes.
And they may not hear a code if they are not wearing hearing aids.
That's true. I mean, if they're having hearing problems, they might not hear the lock making noise.
Well,
But that
I
is
don't have a problem.
well, that is the one piece of criteria I wish I had check marked when I was buying. I even bought one to begin with, and I was so infatuated with all the features, it had checked all the boxes, that I just went ahead and bought the other 3. And then it was a couple of days later that I realized, oh, this actually, you have to approach this in a very specific way or you're going to have a bad experience. The codes end with hitting the pound number. I forgot to tell that to our first guest, and he got himself locked out for 6 minutes, because if you fail on the lock too many times, it shuts down its interaction for 6 minutes to refresh. And so I'd forgotten to give him end it with a pound.
And can you override that and let them in?
I can with a fingerprint, with
but
an e-card, yeah, or
but
with the
not-
app.
Oh, you could with the app.
But
So
I
if-
can't do it remotely because
you
the
have to be
app's not
there.
remote.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's that ease of use should have been on my criteria.
Like mine, my son came in the house and was dropping something off and forgot to unalarm. And I was in San Carlos, so I was able to remotely unalarm. I don't know. I don't have a lock, so I don't know if that would work or not. But
In this price range, there are not any Wi-Fi,
real
internet
Wi-Fi.
connected
Okay.
locks. You jump into $200 locks.
Wow.
And so it wasn't reasonable. It wasn't in my budget to
Right.
have them online. They even if I wanted to buy the gateways, that was a little outside of my budget, but that's what I would have chosen because it would still be $100 cheaper than the next lock I was looking at.
But you have to have a gateway for each lock.
For each lock, that's right. But each lock would with the gateway would start out $100 cheaper than
Right.
the next lock I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in the future, maybe there'll be a lock, like maybe mom and dad's lock would make sense to have on a gateway. But right now, the biggest reason I might want a gateway is to be able to push those codes from my desk instead of running around doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind running around and doing it. Especially, what I've learned is I could set them all up on one and move them to others. Well, I'll keep thinking about it because I don't want guests to be able to get into every door.
No.
So I want to be able to choose the doors that they're able to get into. The
Thank
nice
you.
thing.
I'm out of here.
All right, Judy. I was just
Bye.
going to finish with one last
We'll
thing.
finish one last thing.
The one last thing is that fortunately I live right underneath one of the locks and I'm able to administer it from my desk. Because I'm within 30 feet of the lock. So
Good.
I can't do mom and dad's house, but I can do the one right above my place. Just sitting down here with my phone.
Amazing. Later. I'll see you next week.
See ya. I see Chester just disconnected. We'll talk next week. Mom, I'll talk with you in a little bit. Oh, I've lost your audio for some reason. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. That's right.
I'm coming over right now.
Oh, all right. We'll see you in a bit.
All right.
Bye. All right. That was the San Carlos Computer Club once again being done remotely in virtual meeting format because I'm in Alaska running a bed and breakfast. So if you have computer issues out there, I do it remotely. Just get a hold of me, Scott, at internationalcs.net. And if you like what we're doing as far as the computer club, you're welcome to join us. You can sit in with our YouTube stream, or you can get information about joining our group through the Google Meet. Just go to our website at sccclub.org. Until next Tuesday, everybody, tech on.